Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram. Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. So we saw in the last verse, 20th verse, different sadhanas which are given, that if a person studies the Bhagavad Gita even a little, that is a sadhana at the intellectual level. Ganga Jalalava Kanika Pita, even a drop of devotion in one's life enriches one's life, brings about surrender. And Sakradapiyena Murari Samarcha, if one has served the Lord, that is the physical level. Kriyate tasya yamena charcha, that is the way to live in this world, centered in one's own mind, in one's own sadhana, in one's own self. Otherwise there are lots of things that we do because of which the mind oscillates, because of which the mind is driven outside by desire, by achievements, by name, fame, many things. Centering has to happen in one's life. Like the boat must have an anchor. Same way, what is that in which I center myself? That should be my own self, my own sadhana. If my centering is something outside, the locus of my happiness is somewhere outside, then there is a lot of disturbance in the mind. We go through pairs of opposites, up and down, the mind goes, fluctuates. So now in the 21st verse is one of the very famous verses of Bhaja Govindam. And in this 21st verse is the description of, it's a prayer. And the prayer is looking at the way one is living and how life goes on. Even after dropping of this body, continuously there is birth, death, birth, death. So looking at that whole picture, the seeker has a very ardent prayer. Let us see that. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. Punarapi janani jathare shayanam. Iha samsare bahudustare. Kripaya pare pahi murare. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate. So this is called as a Dina Bhakti. The bhakti where one surrenders out of one's helplessness. When one realizes that this, one can't do much by one's own effort, and grace is what is very important. So the seeker thinks, in the first two lines, the seeker introspects, thinks about life in its completeness. So he says, Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. Again birth and again death. And after death, again birth. Punarapi janani jathare shayanam. And once again one has to come into the womb of the mother. Jathara is the womb. So when one thinks about that birth, death, this cycle goes on. And if one thinks carefully about this, one will know that at every moment in this journey, there is a lot of pain. Birth is painful. Why birth is painful? Before birth, the formation of the baby in the womb, that itself is so painful. The existence 9 months in the womb, you just think about it. For a few seconds, if our hand touches the fire, we feel burnt. But to form this body, it has been cooked in the womb of the mother for 9 months in the Jataragni. The metaphor given is, it is like, being in the molten cauldron of iron. If one is put into a molten cauldron of iron, how it will be? It is that excruciating pain. That is what is the description given in the scripture. Maybe to a certain extent it may seem exaggerated also, but the point of that exaggeration is to drive home to us that why do we want to again come back into this world? For some temporary sense enjoyments, for things which remain here, for exhausting the karmic accounts with people whom we may not even meet in the next life or in this life itself. The moment karmic accounts are over, one departs. So, is there a valid reason to come back into this world? Is a question that seeker has to think. If one says that no, there are desires to be enjoyed, there are things to be done, I want to do this, I want to do that, fine. Each one has their own reason. But a seeker who thinks about it would come to understand that is it worth that much amount of pain that one goes through? Before birth, 9 months. In fact, there is a composition of Shankaracharya which begins with that shloka, which describes the state in the womb. Shiva Aparadha Kshamapana Stotram. Few years back, we had morning talks also on that by Mitrananji. So in that he describes that how the person is regretful. That when that person was in the womb, the person was going through so much of pain. It says, Adav karma prasangat kalayoti kalusham matra kokshav sthitam mam. That because of karma I have to come into this body. And for that I have to go through the womb of the mother. 9 months. And what was the situation there? Hanging upside down in that small womb, no place. And if you are twins, triplets, quadruplets, then you had it. You are stuck. And then sometimes it's so difficult, you see twins who are born, some of their body parts are joined. Then they have to do surgery and all that. So much of pain. Inside, no proper ventilation, all around a Jataragni, which is that fire burning. And then surrounded by fecal matter, darkness completely. 9 months one has to get cooked inside like that. Always depend on the mother. All the nutrition has to come from the mother only. Can't do anything independently. Then one comes out. And when one comes out, one cries. So it is said that the baby cries. Why? When the cord is cut and the baby cries, spiritually it is said the baby cries that in the womb the baby remembers the Lord. That Bhagavan, this kind of a pain I don't want to go through again. When I take birth, I will definitely remember you. and I don't want to come back into this again. But when the baby comes out, the winds of Maya touch that baby, and the baby cries because the baby forgets Bhagavan. And think about it, that forgetfulness, what a price we pay for it. When we forget Bhagavan, we keep running after things in the world, create more desire, create more vasana. To exhaust that, I need one more body. So this punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, this is the external description of the cycle of birth and death. The internal description is that cycle which we have seen earlier. That as per our knowledge, so will be our values. As the values, so the desire. As the desire, so the action. Then the results. Thoughts and action, the results. Results being incomplete, again there is a new desire. It goes round and round. That is actually punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. Birth and death is not just the physical birth and death. That's only the equipment, the body. After having been born also, is it that life is very comfortable? It is, we saw in that 4th verse, no? Life is so ephemeral, like a drop of water on the leaf of the lotus, on the petal of the lotus. And even in that short life, so much of diseases at the body level, so much of pride at the mind level, so many ego conflicts. How much one has to go through? So if one actually goes through, this is called the Vivek, Nitya Anitya Vivek. One has to discriminate that what is real, what is unreal, why do I really want to come back? I always ask that question to myself, do I want to come back? If yes, why? What is worth in this world that one has to go through all this once again? And the strange part is this, that even after going through all the pain, when one is intensely going through that pain, the mind thinks, not anymore, enough is enough. But again it goes through that. The moment that pain is over, again the desire takes over. And sometimes one may repeat that also. Same behavior. And there are some people who will always tell us that till you don't learn that lesson, life will keep bringing that experience again and again and again to you. So then why don't we learn the lesson? The desire is so powerful. So here the seeker thinks that this again and again and again coming back into this body and living this life, Janma is painful, Jivan is painful, old age, how much of pain, and death. One will be snatched away from all the loved ones and the things and everything. So if one thinks about that, one says that this is enough, I have had enough and more. If you do past life regression, so all the more vairagya one should get. How many lives one has gone through? It is said 84 million species one goes through to come to first human birth. And this is not being said only by the Indian scriptures. Today, a lot of Western psychologists also are saying the same thing. That how many births we have gone through to come to this human birth. And here is a chance, the only chance to exit from the cycle of birth and death is a human body. There was a very simple story that there is a man who is in a prison. It's a big prison. And he is blind. He is trapped in the prison. He is alone there. So he feels very miserable, very suffocated. He wants to get out of that prison. So the jailer one day tells him, let's see, you are closed in this prison, but there is one gate which is there. And if you find that gate, you can get out of this prison. You will be free. So, but how do I find the gate? He said, the gate is in the wall only, and it is open. But I will give you a chance only once. You have to find that gate. Go around the prison, find that gate, and then if you find it, exit. Because that gate I will keep it open. So he starts one by one. He starts walking, touching the wall. It's a very huge prison. So he keeps walking. And as he comes near the gate, and he's just going to touch the gate, something scratches him, something is itching him here. So he scratches and walks across. And he misses that whole gate. So the jailer says, sorry, you were right in front of it, but you just missed it. Same thing happens to us in human birth. Bhagwan is compassionate. He doesn't give us only one human birth. He keeps giving again and again. And every time that itch of desire keeps coming. And I don't know if you have experience, but itching is such a thing that you cannot resist. When you itch, it feels okay, but that becomes worse after some time. Again you have to feel like itching. Desire is like an itch. Terrible. The more you itch, the more it, inflammates, aggravates. One has to let go. अपने आप वो हो जाएगा. You put the cream or something and just let it be. One cannot keep itching. So the itch of desire is that which makes us go round and round and round in this cycle. And how do I overcome my own desire? By myself. That desire we saw is a sense of incompleteness. It comes only when I feel incomplete, identify with the incomplete. So only solution to get over desire, the main cause of sorrow, is surrender this ego, which feels incomplete. So the last two lines say here, Iha samsare bahu dustare. This samsara is very difficult to cross. Apare dustare, it is said. Apara is impossible to cross. So this samsara is impossible to cross by my own effort, O Lord. Kripaya pare pahi murare. Please, this samsara which is so difficult to cross, please have some compassion, and only by your grace it is possible to cross this over. So please let me cross over this samsara. This is called Dina Bhakti, where one really introspects and finds that one is helpless. This is not some helplessness out of laziness, that okay, I can't do anything about it, I have not tried anything. One has tried so many things, and yet this sense of incompleteness is not going. It will go only when there is surrender, and that grace of the Lord has to come for it. So here is a very, very powerful prayer. Not only one can pray at the time of when one is feeling so suffocated in the world, but even in general, in our daily prayer also this can be used. That may the grace of the Lord be there to cross over the illusion that our own mind creates actually. The samsara is not outside. It is our own mind which creates that. So in this commentary, Gurudev has given something very nice which we should read. The idea here is that send, we keep sending every day one SMS, no? Not one SMS, so many SMSs we send to so many people. We should send one SOS to the Lord every day. Let's save our soul, please. If you send 100 SMSs, send one SOS to Bhagwan, more than enough. But please save our soul. This is not to say that we are, if you read this paragraph you will know, then I will come to it. I don't know what is your page number. In my book it is 79. The paragraph starts with, O destroyer of Mura.
Yes, 83.
Huh? 83. If you read that para, so beautiful it is. O destroyer of Mura, Lord Krishna, save me. Help me please is the ardent prayer unto him, and seeking his feet of love is the only way out. And even here, what right have I, the slave of my own passions, the non-believer all these years, to seek his help now? True, I have no faith to meet thee, O Lord. I have nothing to offer thee except my own tears. I have nothing to claim for myself except the fatigue of my indulgence, the stink of my selfish acts, the sweat of my passions, the cords of my attachments. In fact, I don't deserve to be saved. Yet, Lord, I am tired, beaten out completely, exhausted thoroughly, repentant fully, helpless wholly. I surrender myself to Thee and Thy grace. I claim a hearing and expect help from Thee. Art not Thou the ocean of Kripa, of grace, of kindness and of love? Art Thou not the destroyer of demon Mura? Won't Thou in Thy kindness take pity on me and once more destroy the old enemy, Mura in my bosom, the bundle of my own wretched vasanas? This is the prayer, complete surrender. The ego will get pulverized in this. The important point here is not to just say this. The important point here is to feel this. And when I feel this in the prayer and this attitude comes, that what do I have to offer to the Lord except the stink of my selfishness, the fatigue of my indulgence, the sweat of my passion, the cords of my attachment. All that I offer to the Lord, and please forgive me, please save me. When one comes into that bhavana, even tears may roll down from one's cheeks. But Gurudev always said that the tears of devotion will purify the mind. The ego will get reduced. This is not out of self-condemnation, please. This is not a self-condemning verse. The paragraph here is a genuine feeling that how many times we would have done things in our own immaturity where we would have messed up our own life, hurt ourselves, hurt people around. And yet the ego is so strong that no, I am okay, I have not done anything wrong. Whether one has done wrong or right is another matter, but the very fact that when we have come into this world and we live oblivious of the presence of the Lord, that itself is enough to make us say all this. And when somebody gives us food, we say thank you to that person. If somebody gives us something to see or read or some money, but the Lord who has given us all the other capacities to eat, drink, smell, taste, touch, enjoy, think, feel, given us this body, so many things that Bhagavan has given to us, do we even remember that Lord once and genuinely with so much of love? On the contrary, one goes around saying, I am a non-believer, which Bhagavan, what Bhagavan, I don't believe in any Bhagavan. And then how did all this happen? No, that is all happening by nature. So the ego, to crack that, this bhavana of surrender and helplessness is important. So that is why it is called Dina Bhakti. It is not self-criticism, not self-condemnation, but it is surrender. Even in the Bible, Jesus says that. It is the meek who shall attain the kingdom of the heaven. He didn't say weak, he said meek. Meek meaning those people who are, in front of infinity, who am I? You just think about the number of stars and the galaxies which are there. I don't know if you have seen, there is one email which keeps going around, where they show right from that so many galaxies onwards, they keep showing down. onto the smallest of the stem cells. Not stem cells, what is called string inside that atom. And they show what is our size in that. Hardly anything, even if we just imagine that. So compared to infinity, even all my achievements are all nothing, it's just a dot, just a speck. So that bhavana of surrender has to come, and one prays that, oh Lord, please let me remember this all the time. Let me have this feeling of surrender, let me have this feeling of helplessness in front of the Lord. It is not helplessness in terms of low confidence, criticism, condemnation that I can't do anything, but it is genuine feeling that I am trying my best, but that to cross over this samsara is possible only by grace. So grace is a very, very important factor here, and humility is what is going to take us across. There was one old man, and when he was going to part, he called all his children and he said, I want to give you one advice. Be always humble in life and grateful in life. And he gave the example. He said, your own mouth is the example of that. The teeth which are very hard, in time they will fall, but the tongue remains. You can put dentures and all that and continue to eat whatever required, but the point is that the tongue which is flexible, which is soft, that always remains. Huge trees get uprooted in a storm, but simple grass and small plants, they keep swinging, they remain. So it is the humble who will survive, and it is the humble who will cross over this ocean of samsara. And today when, who is that management expert? Jack Welch. Yeah. And Jim Collins, not Jack Welch. Jim Collins, he says humility is the X factor of leadership. The top level of leader of level number 5 has humility. And their definition of humility is what? You should be humble enough to listen to your employees. You should be humble enough to listen to the customer feedback. You should be humble enough to understand the worker and the difficulties that the worker is going through. So humility, and this shloka is about that, this verse is about that. Let there be humility in life and genuine desire that I want to cross this ocean of samsara. I don't want to come back again. If at all I come back again, let me come back with the awareness that I am divine. Or let me come back with that constant remembrance of the Lord. The devotees pray that, Bhagavan, we don't mind becoming a stone, but I should be a stone on the banks of the Yamuna. I don't mind becoming a tree, but I should be a tree in Vrindavan. I don't mind becoming a cow. Like that the devotees keep saying. But what is important is, if I come back, I should not forget you. I should not forget the source. May I have that blessing. Then I come back, don't come back, it doesn't matter. So this shloka is about that.
Even Buddha is symbolic of our ego.
Ego, yeah. Murari means, Ari means enemy, and one who destroyed Mura. Mura is a symbol of ego. So the ego must get destroyed. So now we go to the next one, which describes the state of a yogi who, while living here, what we saw in the 19th verse, yogaratova, bhogaratova, how does that person live here? And how has that person reached that state? 22nd verse. Rathya charpata virachita kanthaha punya punya vivarjita panthaha yogi Yogi yoga niyojita chittaha Ramate balon mattavadeva Bhaja Govindam Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate. So he says here, Rathya Charpata Virachita Kantha. The person wears clothes made of torn pieces of cloths and which are stitched up together. We call as Godadi. Punya Vivarjita Pantha. Walks the path which is beyond Punya and Papa, merit and demerit. Yogi yoga niyojita chitta. By the practice of yoga one has controlled the mind fully. Ramate balon mattavadeva. And one revels like an intoxicated man or a child. This is the state of a person who has realized the truth. So Rathya Charpata Virachita Kantha, meaning takes absolutely bare minimum from the society. Doesn't expect anything. Simple living, high thinking. That's the way this person lives. Absolutely bare essentials. Rathya Charpata Virachita Kantha. And that also is, we saw earlier, Suramandira Taru Mula Nivasa, staying below the tree outside a temple. Same way here. Rathya Charpata Virachita Kantha. In fact, these pieces of cloth are all rejected, thrown away. Those are taken and stitched up. If you see Lord Shivji, he is like that. Anything that is rejected by the world, Bhagavan will give refuge to that. So the snake, people don't like the snake. Poison, people don't like. Skulls, they will not like. Ash, many things like that. He will, ghosts, goblins, goblets, all of them. They all will be there around Shivji. Meaning what? That Bhagavan is the one who accepts everyone. Same way here is a master who takes bare minimum from the society. Punya Vivarjita Pantaha, but walks the path beyond Punya and Papa. An indulgent person walks the path of Papa, will enjoy the desire at any cost, doesn't bother about right, wrong, anything. Such a person is called as a Pamara. Pamara means such an indulgent person who will not even bother about Punya and Papa, will just indulge. Vishayi is a person who will enjoy life, but based on Punya and Papa. What is wrong will not do. And through righteous means will enjoy life. Then comes the sadhak, who tries to go beyond indulgence, tries to control the mind. Indulgence may be only in moderation. Tries to do more and more selfless service, purify the mind. But here is a person who is a Siddha, who has realized the truth. Walks the path beyond Punya and Papa. For a seeker, Papa is to be avoided, and one does actions which are accumulating Punya. Did I tell you earlier that the currency in the higher worlds is Punya? Just like dollar is the standard here, Punya is the currency there. Can somebody just tell them? So, this, even to get the human body one requires Punya karma, meritorious deeds. To enjoy in heaven one requires Punya karma. To To get satsang, one requires punya karma. To be able to do sadhana steadily, one requires punya karma. And how does one acquire this punya? The more selfless the person is, the more punya one will acquire. And that selflessness can be through one's own daily duties. It can be through special acts of selflessness, like sharing something which one has, teaching somebody. So dana, that is a part of punya. If I build a school or a hospital, that is a part of punya. Certain spiritual practices give us punya karma. And the subtler the spiritual practice, greater is the punya. So if I do japa, loud japa, manasik japa. So manasik japa has more punya. Puja is more grosser. Yajna, gross. Meditation, much more subtler than puja, japa. So the subtler spiritual acts bring greater punya. So for a indulgent person who doesn't bother about punya and papa, lives an absolutely irresponsible life. For a seeker, one tries to avoid papa and do actions which get us more punya. Avoidance of papa is also important. Otherwise, what happens? See, remember, punya and papa account doesn't get offset. There are many people who believe like that. Do all kinds of things in the world and go and do some charity. Ho gaya, account offset ho jayega. Bhagwan did not study accounting. उनको कॉस्ट अकाउंटिंग सब नहीं आता है. सो प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस एंड बैलेंस शीट एंड ऑल ही कैन नॉट मेक. हिज अकाउंट इज वेरी क्लियर. यू डू गुड, you get good result. You do bad, you get bad result. Each action will have its own response. No offsetting. So punya one does, but what is equally important is also to avoid papa karma. And also remember one thing, there are two attitudes towards punya karma. One attitude towards punya karma is to enjoy the benefits that punya karma will bring, to enjoy more and more. So I fast here to attain bliss in heaven. There I can eat, drink anything I want. That is one attitude of punya karma. Indulgent attitude, which is also better than not thinking about it. Other attitude is I do punya with nishkam bhavana, to reduce my ego, to purify the mind, to get more and more opportunities to do satsang and to get out of this cycle of birth and death. And remember, this punya and papa doesn't depend on our belief. Okay, it is happening, whether we know it or not. So the great rishis, they understood the laws of life and they experimented with them and they found them to be true. They observed, analyzed, codified, classified, and then they presented it to us. So it works. Punya and papa works 100%. And in that punya and papa, there is no fluctuation like the dollar. ये ऊपर नीचे नहीं होता है. It is a steady law and it will work. So if one, and you can try. Many of the people will tell you that you have this problem, do this much of japa and this will help. What are they trying to do in that? Some people of course do it out of exploitation also. They say itna daan kar do, itna charity kar do, फिर ये हो जाएगा आपका problem solve. I said that is not encouraged in the scripture. But when it is said that you do like this, because every effect, every action has a result. So when I do a certain amount of japa, I am invoking punya karma in my life. That will make the mind much more empowered. That will create that kind of attitude, that kind of energy field around me, which will help in handling certain aspects of life. There is a scientific reason behind it. Long back there was this camera which was there, and this person I forgot his name, Kirlian camera or something. They measure the aura, which is the energy field. Now you can see the aura of a selfish person and a selfless person very clearly. You can see the aura of a person, same person, before a spiritual practice, after a spiritual practice. Now they have much more. Now they can even measure that brain waves. They put electrodes and they measure. And they tell you that, okay, in this state of meditation, this person went into that, what state? Theta state. Alpha, beta and theta. So alpha state he went into, alpha state. So in our language we say it is punya karma. When the mind becomes selfless, what science is measuring is the visible result. Please remember, two results are there of every karma. One is a visible result, that is called as drishta karma phala, and this punya is called as adrishta karma phala. Adrishta karma phala is in terms of the impressions on the mind which we carry with us, and when the right time comes, the environment is created to enjoy or to suffer that karma phala. So punya and papa, they are the karma phala. So for a seeker, one has to do more and more punya so that one purifies the mind. But also remember that to do punya and papa, what is important is the doership, which is strong in a pamara, it is strong in a vishayi, it is strong in a, it is less in a seeker. The ego, the sense of doership reduces, but it is still there. Only in this realized master, one has transcended that. So the realized master is not affected by punya also, not affected by papa also. It is like a person who has woken up from the dream. None of the actions of the dream can anymore affect that person. Who has woken up and gone back into the dream, that's the analogy. Knowing very well that this whole thing is a dream, is an illusion, nothing is happening to me. That is punya vivarjita pantha, meaning one does actions with the complete sense of emptiness, that I am not the doer. Actions flow through that person. No sense of doership at all. In that case, that person has gone beyond punya and papa. Till then, our attempt must be to do good karmas, which will give us punya, which will help us to exit from this place. And if at all we do papa, one must immediately admit that I am sorry, I made a mistake. That's why in every culture there are ways and means to, what is that called? Expiate the sins. What is that word?
Prayashchit.
Prayashchit is there, but in English there is one word. That's a means. Expiate the sins, meaning to destroy them or to dissolve them. I don't remember the exact word, but it starts with that ex something it is, expiate, or it means to destroy or dissolve. So whether it is through confession or through taking a dip in the Ganga or doing whatever else, idea is
Extinguish.
not extinguish, something else it is. It is used only in context with the word sin. I'll tell you next class. So idea here is to not allow the sins to build up. Because anything, punya and papa, is such that it leaves an impression on the mind which will further prompt us to do. The moment I say, I am sorry, this was wrong, I accept it and I don't want to repeat it, I repent for it. Not only repentance is enough, if I do prayashchitta, atonement, then that is a way to drop that papa. So for different karmas there are prayashchitta also which are given in our culture. So this line, today it may appear to us as, okay, punya, papa, what? Because we don't know the background, we don't have that samskar that much. But the whole Vedic culture was based on the subtlety of the mind to understand the consequences of one's action. That this karma, is it good, is it bad, will it lead to punya, will it lead to papa, and if it does, what will be the result of that punya and papa, and how to handle that. That complete insight they had, and hence they were very alert that I should not do papa. If I do, I should let it get dissolved fast. It is just like not allowing the germs and the bacteria and other harmful things to build up in the body. Same way, sins must go. And let me focus on punya. Because punya will bring more happiness. In the subjective realm, always remember 3 realms are there. Adi Daivik, Adi Bhautik and Adhyatmik. So people say that punya and papa is all, there is nothing called punya and papa. There is nothing called heaven and hell. Who has seen that? How will you come back? And anybody has reported. It's a very superficial argument. Why? Because if we say that punya means when the mind is happy, then that is called as punya, and when the mind is disturbed, that is called as papa. That is only one aspect of life. That is the Adhyatmic aspect. Adi Daivik aspect, Adi Bhautik aspect is also there. That my actions which I do, that is influencing my mind or not. Selfish actions will create selfishness in the mind. That is papa. That is what is creating agitation. And that papa, that agitation in the mind is further prompting me to do selfish action. So they both are connected. One cannot say that heaven and hell only is inside. It is inside also. It is around me also. In my actions also it is reflected. And there is a realm also called heaven and hell. That is the Adi Daivik level. Which, if you think is a physical, geographical place, and then there are people who go there and then they enjoy there, that is a limitation. It is not a geographical place, but it is a realm of consciousness which is there. If you have time, go to this website called lifeexplained.com. I need to finish the Bhaja Govindam by 12th, so I am not taking those videos here, but you please see there. Go to that site called lifeexplained.com. That person is a foreigner. His name is Hans Wilhelm. And if you listen to him on karma, on forgiveness, on life after death, life before birth, exactly what the scripture says, he will tell you. Exact. You listen to them. They will explain the same thing, that we all are spiritual beings, we live in a spiritual realm, and according to the vibrations that we have, we all come together. Just like here we have come together based on our karma, which is our vibration. Grosser vibration is that karma. Same way we live in spiritual world also, where we come together, the people of the same frequencies come together and live together, and according to their karmic accounts, they themselves decide to come on this earth and go through certain experiences to learn something, and different purposes are there for different beings to come down. Somebody wants to love, somebody wants to learn, somebody wants to serve. Different beings come down for different purpose. And amazing how he explains that. Very beautiful. And he says that this world, this earth especially, he says, is the most beautiful place, because in different realms of consciousness, only the people of the same frequency can come together. But it is only on earth that people of different frequencies can come together, the souls of different frequencies can come together and have different experiences by which they grow, they evolve. Which we in traditional world say that, human life is the most important, to be born on this earth, this is karma bhumi and all that. Everywhere else it is only the bhog bhumi, and people of the same karma only come together. So go through that and you will know more. And they will speak about, he speaks about all these things. But the terminology he uses is vibration, frequency, all that. So punya vivarjita pantha. So how do I have to live here? There are two attitudes. One attitude is of a seeker, that let me increase punya and drop the papa. Whatever I am doing which is negative, which is harmful, which is creating agitation, harming people, let me learn to drop that. And let me focus on increasing punya karma, increasing sattva guna. One attitude to live is like that. Second attitude is, if I have lived as the first one, second one will happen, that I live with complete surrender that I am not the doer, I am only an instrument, Bhagavan is the doer. Every moment I can remind myself that I am only an instrument. I am only an instrument. One of the biggest ways to de-stress oneself in life is to remember this, that I am only an instrument. I am not the doer. So punya vivarjita panta. Yogi yoga niyojita chitta. Through the practice of yoga, not just asana and pranayam. Yoga means to unite with the self. Asana pranayam is a means to that. Niyojita chitta. Through the practice of yoga, which means all, karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga. It's not only asana pranayam. It is that selflessness, single pointedness. That is actually yoga. So through the practice of that yoga, one has withdrawn and controlled the mind. That person is called as a yogi. Ramate balon mattavadeva. Such a person who has these three aspects, who lives with minimum, who walks the path of non-doership. Bruce Lee said a very nice thing. He said the utility and the beauty of a cup is in its emptiness. Nothing. Even in martial arts they use emptiness. In higher levels of martial arts, it is not about skill. It is about becoming completely empty. I has to go. You see that Kung Fu Panda also at the end what comes? That scroll which is blank, is empty. Emptiness is the highest teaching in any knowledge, in any field. Emptiness. I have to become empty. And through any field I can become empty. I have to just surrender that ego. So that is non-doership, emptiness. Such a person who lives with minimum, who walks the path of non-doership, and who practices control of the mind. Ramate balon mattavadeva. That person realizes the truth, and how is his life? Example is given, balavat, like a small child. Remember, the person who is spiritual is childlike and not childish. Childlike meaning very spontaneous. Will not hold grudge and will not hold unnecessary resentment and then make a big ego issue. Very small child is very spontaneous. One moment is angry, one moment is happy, one moment is same mother with whom the child fights, next moment the child goes and embraces that mother. There is no ego. Spontaneity. And unmattavadeva. Unmatta means one who is intoxicated. So intoxicated meaning one who lives in his own world. There the drunkard is oblivious of what is happening around him and lives in one's own hallucination. But here it means one is intoxicated by pure love, by selflessness, by self-knowledge, and one has become one with everyone. So that sense of separation has gone. So intoxicated by the sense of oneness and love. That is the life of this person. Ramate balon mattavadeva. Gurudev used to define very nicely. Yoga means what? Based on the Gita, he came up with his definition of yoga, which says that yoga means divorce from your wedlock to sorrow. That is called as yoga. We are wedded to sorrow, happily. We don't need separate marriage. By itself we are wedded to sorrow, by identifying with the ego. If we marry after that, that is extra sorrow. Added. But by itself we are wedded to sorrow. And this is not being said by us. It is said in the Gita, tam vidya dukkha samyoga viyoga yoga iti sangnitam. 6th chapter of the Gita gives that. Dukkha samyoga, we are wedded to sorrow. Viyoga from that. Meaning yoga should lead us to happiness, cheerfulness. Punya punya vivarjita pantha. So this is the 22nd verse. It is a very, very nice verse. One should refuse to be miserable. After coming to spirituality, if I am miserable, that means somewhere I am very attached.
Wrong understanding.
Yeah, wrong understanding, and I am not getting detached. I am holding on to something. I am not able to let go. Emptiness is not happening. So that is verse number 22. Ramate balon mattava deva.
Swami, what is the difference between karma phala and vasanas? After all, karma phala is product of vasanas.
No. It's an effect of vasana. Correct.
Product of vasanas. Vasanas, you can say it is a subtler level.
Yes. Correct. Vasana, when I do a karma, the invisible result of that is a impression, is a vasana. Okay. And also the invisible result is the punya and the papa, which is called as the karma phala. Now, adrishta phala, no, they are two different things. Vasana is an impression which is created in the mind about that action, which may prompt you to further repeat that action or avoid that action. That is vasana. But the result of that karma, which is coming, which is the invisible result, which is in term because of the attitude with which action is done, the punya and papa which comes is the invisible result of that karma. And then there is a visible result which is external. Pleasure, pain, happiness, sorrow, success, failure. That is a visible result outside. That is called as drishta karma phala. Then there is adrishta karma phala, which is the punya and papa, which is what is required, which is what determines also our next births. So punya is required to get human body. If my vasana is such that I demand a human body, punya karma has to be sufficient to get that human body. You see? So vasana and punya papa are not the same. Because punya and papa don't further lead to action. Punya and papa only give the environment or that body to enjoy that karma phala, or to exhaust that certain karma which I already have accumulated, that sanchit karma. But vasana is that which will further lead. It will create desire, it will create thought, it will create action. Vasana is the source of that. Punya doesn't lead to more desire. It's a little technical and little subtle to understand, but you think more on it, you will know. Adrishta karma phala, drishta karma phala, they are karma phala. And vasana is an impression on the mind. Think more on that.
It is like this, that suppose in my language, we want to buy something from the market. So we need two things there, desire plus money.
Correct.
So like that we can define the vasana is desire and money is punya.
No. I will explain to you after the class. Because this vasana is the source of that desire.
Now you are focusing on vasanas only. This chapter, this punya karma and papa karma is very new.
Yeah, because the punya karma, when good action is done, it will lead to a good vasana, which will further prompt me to do good karma. But along with that good vasana, it is creating a good result also, which is not visible, which is punya. My karma is getting me a punya and papa balance. Like I do an action today. How to give that example? Let us say I execute a contract. Okay, so when I execute a contract, I am paid for that. Okay, so when I am paid for that payment is the visible result. But how I have executed that contract will create a impression about me. which may get me further contracts. That is a vasana. And the punya and papa, maybe we can say it is like the goodwill. That goodwill will get that type of projects to me. Again, the example has a limitation, but something like that it is. So punya vivajita pantha, walk the path beyond punya and papa. Now we come to one more verse where he says how to come to that state where I am not deluded, where I am not lost in the Maya, is the power of enquiry. Kastvam koham kuta ayatah Kame janani ko me tatah Iti paribhavaya sarvamasaram Vishvam tyaktva swapna vicharam Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mundhamate. So the path of enquiry is the way to get out of wrong notions. Delusion, moha goes by vichar, by inquiry. So he says here, Kastvam, who are you? Koham, who am I? Kuta ayata, from where have we come? Kame janani kome tataha, who is my mother? Who is my mother? And who is my son or my father? Kome tataha. Iti paribhavaya. In this way, constantly inquire. Why? Sarvam asaram, because all this is essenceless. So much time we spend in relationships, losing the grip on ourselves, losing the grip on the Lord, on the devotion. Vishvam tyaktva swapna vicharam, and abandon this world knowing it to be a dream. So here the analogy is of life is being compared to a dream. In dream, everything appears very real, but only for as long as one is going through that dream. The moment one wakes up from that dream, one realizes, oh, it was an illusion. So a person who thinks more and more about this, that the moment I see this world as real, then I run behind it. This we have done even in the 11th verse. Which one? Maya mayamedam akhilam buddhva brahma padam tvam pravisha viditva. The dream example is a very good example actually. If you think more and more about the dream example. But for that, those questions are important. Kastvam, koham, who are you, who am I, from where have we come? We have taken it for granted that I am the son of my father, I am the husband of my wife, I am the brother of my sibling. That is a different verse. Jnate tatve kaha samsara, that is a different verse. Here it is saying Vishvam tyaktva swapna vicharam. It's same as Maya mayamidam akhilam buddhva. So when we say this world is a dream, it's an illusion, one aspect to understand about that analogy is that how the dream, can the dream food satisfy the hunger of the waking state? It cannot satisfy. In the same way, there is a deep demand in us to know that which is permanent. No amount of food of this dream will ever satisfy that hunger. So no amount of actions and achievements that I do here will ever fulfill that need to know that which is permanent, which is happiness, which is bliss. And yet I am running behind it. Why? Because I think that is so real. So he says, paribhavaya. More and more one has to think about the analogy of the dream. And the more I think of the analogy of the dream, not only do I realize that the dream is an illusion, but only then is there a chance to wake up. Otherwise, I am not even aware that I am asleep and this dream is happening. In Vedanta, the example of the dream is given for a very deep reason. If you analyze the dream example, the waker, the individual, that is you and I, are like one dream character. This whole world is like the dream itself. God is the dreamer who is projecting this whole dream world, who has become all this in the dream, including me, the individual character. So Jiva is the dream character, Jagat is the dream, Ishvara is the dreamer. The power of dreaming is the Maya and the waker is the absolute truth or Brahman. So the dream character is the Jiva, the individual, each of us. The dream world is the Jagat. The dreamer who is projecting this dream world and who has become all this in the dream is the Ishvara. This dreamer has actually forgotten himself, right? That he is the waker. So that power of dreaming which is inherent in that waker is the Maya. And the waker itself is Brahman or the absolute truth. So the analogy of the dream is not to make us absolutely disinterested, ye to sab illusion hai. The analogy of the dream is given for us for two reasons. One is I stop running behind that which is an illusion and I wake up to my true nature and realize that I am one with all these. There is no duality. Unnecessary I am thinking I am only this body and now then this is world is different from me and then the God who is different from me, and now there is so much of conflict because of that. I have to constantly prove myself, I have to succeed and I have to have achievements and I have to constantly keep moving up. But all the time I remain in the shell. So how to achieve that sense of permanent happiness is more and more I think on the dream example. The world is a dream. So while you are going through things, one suggestion you can give to yourself at the back of the mind, this is an illusion, appearing real. When we went to Siddhabari camp, we did that sadhana. Different sadhanas we did. One of the sadhana, the first sadhana that everyone did was this, to tell oneself, because the first verse of Dakshinamurti speaks about the dream, the waking state which we are seeing, thinking of it to be real, is actually dream, is an illusion. And how difficult for us it is to even accept that this is an illusion. Just because it is functioning so systematically, logically, it appears that this is an illusion. In our dream, there is no logic, no, it is random combination of impressions and projected. But here it is not like that, here it is systematic. So we think that this is real and that is the dream. But from Vedanta standpoint, there are only two conditions. One is non-apprehension. No, non-apprehension, misapprehension are they are called as the delusion or the bondage. So deep sleep is one and waking and dream is combined as one. That is misapprehension. So either you wake up to the truth or you are deluded. The deluded, waking, dream, deep sleep, all the three come into that only. So that way, if I think more and more about dream example, I can think more and more about how I am that waker, and this is just a experience that is happening at this moment. While I am going through the experience, it appears very real. So I have to remind myself to remain balanced and equanimous that this is a dream appearing real. Try doing that sadhana for 1 week. You can start right from now. Now itself you can tell yourself that this is a dream appearing real. This class is not happening. From that standpoint.
It's happening, but in the dream it's happening.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying it is happening in the dream, but it is not real. While it is happening, it appears to be real. This is an illusion appearing real. Just like the person who sees the mirage, for that person it appears real, but one knows very clearly, even while when one is seeing it, that this is only a mirage, this is not real.
But in that case, what is happening to the knowledge which I am gaining right now?
That also is unreal.
Or is it that it is already there inside, it's just that it's getting revealed in this dream at this point?
It is already there inside you, or the source is from external, some source is only removing the ignorance and it is revealing to you. But all that action of coming, listening, understanding, gaining the knowledge, from the higher standpoint it is all not happening. From the waker standpoint, nothing is happening in the dream, whether it is a sattvic action or a rajasic action or a tamasic action. But while we are in the dream, it is important to focus on sattvic actions, punya karma, all that. Because only then can I exit. Otherwise it's difficult. So from this standpoint, from right now, yes, it is happening, it is real, but it is relatively real. Absolute truth is something else. Something else meaning it is the unchanging absolute truth. So the dream character is Jiva, the dream world is the Jagat, the dreamer is the Ishvara, the dreaming power is the Maya, and the waker is the Brahman.
Swamiji, can you elaborate on the fact that when we are actually dreaming, like when I go to sleep and when I'm actually dreaming, I don't have any control over my dream. Whatever is happening, I'm just a witness to that. But in this case, there is some will that I have. I'm able to change, I'm able to emphasize more on sattva than on rajas and tamas if I want to. So how do you
the difference in that example is only because in the waking state the buddhi is active, and only in the waking state buddhi is active. Intellect is active in the waking state, so Vivek Shakti is there. So discrimination is possible and choice has been given to us as human beings to choose and hence create our life and our future. But in the dream state the buddhi is dormant, and you cannot do purushartha in dream state. You cannot choose in the dream state. And that is why none of the karmas of the dream affect us in the waking state. Because the buddhi was not there, it was not consciously done.
And that's why Swamiji said that from that standpoint, waking standpoint or Brahman standpoint, no one exists in fact. Jiva, this Ishvara and this body.
Yeah, they don't exist.
From that standpoint.
Correct. That's why it is absolute standpoint. From that absolute standpoint, Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara are not existing. They exist from this standpoint. As long as I am identified with the body, I am the Jiva, then there is a Jagat and then there is an Ishvara. You just think every day you experience that. In the deep sleep, when you are not identified with the body, do you experience the world? If Jiva Bhav is not there, Jagat also is not there and Ishvara also is not there. But the difference there is that in that state there is ignorance in deep sleep. So I don't know that I am Brahman.
tamas is prevailing?
Tamas is prevailing. Whole Vedanta actually is analysis of the waking, dream, deep sleep. Very fascinating. When we take up Tattva Bodh in June or July, sometime I am going to start Tattva Bodh. June actually, There we will come to that. Fundamentals of Vedanta, where waking, dream, deep sleep is analyzed threadbare.
Swamiji, from January to June,
There will be Hanuman Chalisa. Success to fulfillment. 10 sessions of Hanuman Chalisa.
also Sunday.
All Sundays. Same time. So, Vishwam Tyaktva Swapna Vicharam. So this is a sadhana that one can do, and try practicing that for a week. As many times in the day as you can. You have to just tell yourself internally. It will not do anything to your actions externally. You have to continue doing the action as efficiently as possible, with that sattva guna, with that surrender, everything. But at the back of the mind, know that this is an illusion appearing real. And that is a very powerful sadhana, I am telling you. Because if that sadhana is done, if the mind is elated, you will tell the mind that this is an illusion appearing real. If it is depressed also, you will tell the mind it is an illusion appearing real. If a desire comes into the mind suddenly, I want to do this, it's an illusion appearing real.
It reduces the attachment.
Everything, it will reduce attachment, selfishness, impulsiveness, so many things it will reduce, and life will come into perspective. And it will do the most important thing, it will ask you, it will make you inquire, if this is an illusion, what is real? That question only doesn't come to me today because I have understood this only as, ये तो real है.
Somewhere Swamiji Shankaracharya says about the sansar ki maushadi vichar aushadi.
Swami, you mean the deep sleep means calm sleep, dream sleep.
Yeah, there is tamo guna.
Awake means sattvic.
Yeah.
Awake, you are awake, and then in the middle you are resting. Means you are.
No, waking state is not sattvic. In waking state, all the three gunas are there. Depends on which guna you operate from. The dream state, there is rajo guna, so there is projection happening randomly, and deep sleep is a tamasic state. Next class is on 5th. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.